Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Glad to be here.
Today, we're really immersing ourselves in this whole phenomenon of structured, time-bound challenges. The 30-day sprints, the 50-day projects, even those really intense 75-day endurance tests that you see everywhere.
We're all over social media, absolutely everywhere.
Exactly. And they all promise, well, nothing less than a complete personal overhaul. So our mission today is pretty clear. We need to unpack the mechanics, the rules, and the really compelling psychology behind why these things have become such a huge tool for modern life.
And this is, I think, such an essential deep dive because these challenges they're really functioning as a kind of powerful cultural reset button.
A reset button, I like that.
It's what a lot of people feel they need. We live in a world that, it feels defined by chaos, endless options, just directionless scrolling.
Yeah, total overload.
Totally. And these challenges, they just cut right through that noise. They provide immediate, non-negotiable structure. They build accountability right in. And maybe the most important part is they offer this really focused, time-efficient way to break old patterns.
Right, those really destructive ones.
And build, real, measurable self-efficacy. It's all about taking intentional, structured action for a set amount of time. It forces growth.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Let's start with the core philosophy that has to sort of click into place for any of this to work. The idea of prioritizing discipline over motivation. It's the concept everyone kind of nods along with, but a few people actually apply it. I think a lot of listeners will get that analogy you hear sometimes, comparing motivation to bathing.
Precisely. It doesn't last, so you have to do it daily. And that's the thing about motivation, right? By its very definition, it's temporary.
It's a feeling.
It's a feeling. It's that rush you get after watching a documentary or hearing a great speaker. But that energy, it just evaporates. And the central idea we see again and again in all these successful challenges is that motivation doesn't just create discipline out of thin air.
Right.
It's the other way around. The consistent daily act of being disciplined. That's what creates the confidence, the energy, the momentum that later on starts to feel like motivation.
So what happens when you hit that wall?
Yeah.
It's like day 7, day 10, and that initial excitement is just completely gone. You're just tired.
And that's exactly where the power of the supportive habit kicks in.
Oh, okay.
When you're feeling uninspired or, frankly, just annoyed at the whole thing, you don't wait for inspiration to come back. You do the habits you committed to because they're on the checklist.
Yeah.
And missing them means you failed.
So it's not about feeling, it's about doing.
It's entirely about doing. That initial momentum is driven by that commitment and that daily consistency, while it literally builds new neural pathways in your brain. You're shifting from making decisions based on how you feel in the moment to just relying on a logical preset routine. That's the real neurological win. It hardwires consistency.
Okay, so if the challenge isn't really banking on that initial high, what are the actual psychological mechanisms that make these things work so well for, the average person? What's
so fascinating here is the psychological safety that's built right into the structure of it.
Psychological safety, what do you mean by that?
Well, humans, we inherently fear permanent, lifelong change. That's why saying, I'm going to work out forever feels so overwhelming and just unsustainable before you even start.
Totally. It's too big.
It's way too big. But a clearly defined, relatively short end date, 30, 50, 75 days, it makes the goal feel achievable. It feels temporary.
There's a finish line.
There is a finish line in sight. And that psychological safety helps people overcome that fear of this massive, indefinite lifestyle change. It gives you permission to push yourself, really push your limits because it's a sprint, not a marathon.
That makes so much sense. It's like a low-stakes lab for experimenting with high-intensity behavior.
Exactly. And to make that discipline stick, the sources all emphasize this cognitive tool. It's called implementation intention.
Like an if-then plan.
Precisely. It's the huge difference between saying, I will work out more, and saying, if I get home from work, then I will immediately change into my workout clothes and go for a walk. You're pre-programming your response.
You take a decision out of it.
You take the decision-making right out of the equation because that's where motivation fails every time. This is the practical engine that drives discipline.
And that ties right back to the truth about forming habits. We set ourselves up for failure thinking we have to be perfect from day one, which just leads to, immediate self-sabotage.
Absolutely. We have to stress this. Habits are built through repetition and consistency, not perfection.
Do that again.
Repetition and consistency, not perfection. The goal is just frequency. It's not flawless execution. When you commit to showing up every day, even if it's a messy 15 minutes or you only read 10 pages instead of 50, you're still racking up small wins.
And those small wins are everything.
They're crucial because they build self-trust and what psychologists call self-efficacy.
That concept of self-efficacy, the belief that you can actually succeed at something, that's the real currency here, isn't it?
It's the entire foundation. Every single task you complete, no matter how small, even making your bed, which is, that classic first accomplishment of the day, it reinforces this idea.
The idea that you're the kind of person who does this stuff.
Exactly. You are someone who shows up. You are someone who follows through. You stop seeing yourself as someone who wants to be healthy, and you start to see yourself as someone who is healthy because your actions are proving it to you every day.
That identity shift is it's incredibly powerful. It goes beyond just tracking what you do. It starts to change who you believe you are.
Precisely. You go from someone who hopes to be organized to someone who just is organized. And if we connect this to why people fail these challenges, it's almost always that myth of perfection.
They hit a bump and just give up.
Right. They have this cognitive dissonance. They think, I'm disciplined, but then they miss one workout. Their brain tells them the whole thing is ruined, so they just quit to get rid of that internal conflict.
So the critical message for anyone listening is this.
Yeah.
One bad day doesn't ruin anything. If you mess up, you don't quit.
That is the core lesson. Success is in the progress, in the consistency, not in this impossible, perfect routine. The moment you fail is actually the moment you get to practice resilience.
Oh, okay. That's a great reframe.
You just analyze what went wrong, you adjust your if-then plan for tomorrow, and you show up again. The whole goal of the sprint is just to build habits that stick. And that usually means finding a way to be consistent even when it feels ugly or you're scared. Because discipline today, well, it grants you freedom tomorrow. The freedom from always having to make those hard choices.
So if that internal discipline is the foundation, the next huge hurdle these sprints tackle is, well, the modern crisis of attention, which is almost entirely fueled by our digital world.
Yeah.
That feeling of being hyper-connected, it just leads to information overload, anxiety, this detachment from the present. The main issue feels like our digital activity is just spiraling out of our control.
And the research on this is, frankly, alarming. That constant connectivity keeps our bodies in a state of low-grade stress every single time a notification goes off.
Or even when you just think one might.
Or even just anticipating one. Your body releases cortisol, the stress hormone, because your attention system sees a potential threat or an obligation. This leads to this chronic background anxiety and what so many people are calling brain fog.
It makes deep work feel impossible.
Almost impossible, which is exactly where this idea of a dopamine detox or a reward reset came from. And it got so popular, even if, the name isn't scientifically perfect.
Right, you can't actually detox from dopamine.
No, of course not. What the detox is actually trying to do is just temporarily reduce your exposure to those really easy, high-stimulation activities. Mindless scrolling, binge-watching, snacking.
All the instant gratification stuff.
All of it. The goal isn't to stop dopamine, which is impossible and essential for, learning and motivation. The goal is to let your brain's reward pathways recalibrate their sensitivity.
So if you're constantly hitting your brain with easy rewards,
then the harder, more meaningful things like reading a dense book or working on a tough project, they just stop feeling satisfying by comparison. The baseline is too high.
So if it's not a real chemical detox, what is actually making people feel so much better when they do one?
Oh, the benefits are absolutely real, and they come directly from applying principles of cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, to your habits.
How so?
We're trying to interrupt that cue routine reward loop. The cue is the notification sound or just your phone being in your hand. The routine is the mindless scroll. The reward is that little hit of novelty. By consciously limiting the cues, turning off notifications, putting your phone in a drawer, you regain control. You starve the routine.
And you make the good stuff feel good again.
You make the meaningful activities feel satisfying again by just lowering the noise floor of instant gratification.
So it's a behavioral sprint. It's about using technology as a tool, not a pacifier. Okay, let's get into the really practical strategies for simplifying that digital world.
The first step in any kind of intentional life is getting rid of what you don't need. And that applies just as much to your digital world. We have to do a serious digital declutter.
Starting with the biggest offender, Notifications. I saw some research that said just receiving a notification is as distracting as actually responding to it.
That's absolutely correct. It just yanks you out of your flow state. So the most effective strategy isn't just turning them off randomly, it's practicing what's called notification batching.
Batching.
You turn off all non-essential push notifications permanently. Then you set specific times, say 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and 4 p.m., when you will consciously check messages and social media. You treat them like appointments.
So you're proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. Then beyond notifications, you have to tackle the sheer volume of apps.
The app graveyard on screen 3.
The app graveyard. You have to simplify. Implement the one app for each purpose rule. Do you really need 5 news apps? Be ruthless. Delete unused applications. One study showed that people had up to 30% of their installed apps that they had literally never even opened.
Wow. And they're just sitting there creating mental clutter every time you unlock your phone.
That's decision fatigue right there. Which leads to this other fascinating idea of increasing friction for the apps that are the most addictive.
Right, making it just a little bit harder to open them.
Yes, it's a classic environmental design trick. You move the most addictive apps, like social media, off your main home screen. Force yourself to swipe over to the second or third screen, or even put them in a folder you label mindful use only.
I like that.
That tiny moment of friction, that extra swipe or tap, it's just enough to give your conscious brain a chance to step in and ask, wait, do I really need to check this now, or am I just on autopilot?
And that little pause can stop most of the mindless checking.
It can curb 80% of it, easily.
Okay, next, huge time sink. Email. The inbox has become the de facto manager of our day. How do we take back control?
The essential shift is you have to stop keeping your email open all day. That continuous stream of notifications guarantees that you'll spend your most productive hours reacting to other people's priorities, not your own.
You have to schedule it, just like the notifications.
You have to. Commit to checking email only at designated times, maybe 2 or 3 15-minute blocks a day. That's it.
And when you're in there, what's the best way to organize it so you don't get overwhelmed?
You adopt the inbox zero strategy, which isn't really about having 0 emails. It's about having 0 undecided emails.
Okay, so you triage everything.
Instantly. If it takes less than 2 minutes, just do it and archive it. If it's a bigger task, you turn it into a to-do list item on your calendar, and then you archive the email, get it out of sight. And if it's just information, you archive it.
What about all the newsletters and marketing stuff that just floods in?
That's where filters and labels are your best friend. You set up rules to automatically file all that stuff into a separate folder. Call it reading material or reference. This keeps your main inbox clean so it only contains things you actually need to act on.
And finally, the big one, the solitude payoff. I have heard incredible things about what happens when people set a hard screen-free boundary in the evening.
Oh, it's transformative. Going screen-free after, say, 6 p.m., or at least limiting bright screens before bed, it's directly tied to our health. It's all about our circadian harmony.
The body's internal clock.
Right. The blue light from screens suppresses melatonin production, which is the hormone that tells your body it's time to sleep. By cutting that out in the evening, you let your natural melatonin do its job. Your sleep quality improves dramatically.
And it clears that digital dementia or brain fog.
It absolutely does. People report this profound sense of calm and mental clarity, and they suddenly have this surge of evening energy where they can actually read a book or talk to their family instead of just collapsing onto the couch to scroll.
Okay, so once we've established that internal and digital discipline, we have to look at the challenges built specifically to test it. The endurance tests, starting with the big one, 75 hard.
The highest grit challenge.
For sure. And it's positioned not just as a physical thing, but as a mental toughness program.
Yeah.
And it has that famously rigid all-or-nothing approach.
And that rigidity, that's the whole point. It's the psychological weapon of the program. If you miss a single rule, even if you forget to take your daily photo or you have one sip of beer, you have to restart.
From day one.
Immediately from day one. It's designed to completely eliminate compromise and that negative self-talk that lets you off the hook. It's trying to force this rigid adherence for 75 days straight to create a permanent shift in your self-identity.
So let's detail those rules, because they are incredibly demanding.
They leave 0 room for error. There are 5, all non-negotiables. First, you have to follow a strict diet, any diet, but with 2 big rules. No cheat meals and absolutely no alcohol.
Pure self-control.
Purely. Second, the workouts. You have to do 2 45-minute workouts every day. And here's the kicker. One of them has to be outside.
Regardless of the weather.
Rain, snow, heat wave, doesn't matter. And there has to be at least 3 hours between them.
Third,
Hydration. You have to drink 1 full gallon of water daily. That's 128 ounces, or about 3.7 liters.
that's a lot of water.
A lot of water. Fourth is reading, 10 pages of a nonfiction self-development book. And audiobooks don't count. The physical act of reading is part of the focus training.
And finally,
Documentation. You have to take a daily progress photo to track the changes.
hearing all that laid out, I have to ask about the risks. The health and sustainability risks. I mean, 75 days of 2-a-day workouts with no rest days? That sounds like a recipe for burnout or injury.
That is a crucial conversation to have. It absolutely poses risks, especially for beginners. The intensity of 2 45-minute workouts a day for 75 days straight leaves almost no time for real physiological recovery.
That dramatically increases the risk of overtraining.
For sure. And when you talk about overtraining, what's happening in your body is counterproductive. You get chronic fatigue, an elevated resting heart rate, psychological distress, and physical injuries because your muscles never repair and your cortisol never comes down.
And you have to contrast that with what, actual sports medicine says.
Exactly. Organizations like the American College of Sports Medicine recommend 30 minutes of moderate activity just 5 days a week, and they emphasize rest. With 75 hard, you really have to manage your calories and sleep like a professional athlete to avoid burning out.
I'm also hung up on the structure. Why the outdoor workout? If the goal is mental toughness, why does the location matter? Is that just manufactured difficulty?
That's a great question. The program's founder would argue that the outdoor workout is an essential external commitment device.
A what?
It removes the luxury of convenience. When it's freezing cold or pouring rain, your instinct is to stay inside. By forcing you outside, the challenge pits your commitment against your environment. It builds a very specific, resilient kind of mental fortitude.
The idea being, if you can run in a storm, you can finish a tough project at work.
That's the argument. It's designed to prove to yourself that you are tougher than your circumstances.
It's a huge mental tax, though. And recognizing that all or nothing intensity is just too much for most people, a more forgiving alternative has popped up.
Yes, 75 soft. And it's designed with the specific goal of sustainability. It recognizes that the jump from 0 to 75 hard is just too big for most people.
So it's about building habits that can actually last.
Exactly. Habits that are manageable within a normal life, focusing on consistency over extreme restriction.
So how do the rules change to allow for that flexibility?
They're significantly more realistic. Instead of 2 workouts, it's just 1 45-minute workout per day. And crucially, low-intensity stuff like walking or yoga is perfectly fine.
And the diet.
It's a generally healthy diet, which allows for moderation, occasional treats, and social drinking. Hydration is a bit less, 3 liters of water per day, and the reading requirement is also softened to 10 pages of any book. Fiction is fine.
Given how easy it would be to make 75 too soft, what's the most important guardrail people need to set for it to still be effective?
You have to define your boundaries beforehand. That's the key. The danger is using generally healthy as an excuse to eat junk food every day.
So you have to be specific.
You have to write down exactly what healthy means for you for those 75 days. For example, healthy means no processed sugar, or I'll only have alcohol on Saturdays. That written, non-negotiable boundary turns the vague rule into a measurable habit and keeps the challenge effective.
Okay, stepping down from 75 days, we get to the 50-day challenges like Project 50. This seems like a great middle ground.
It really is. Project 50 is a focus-driven sprint, and its genius is that it emphasizes customization. People modify the rules to fit their own goals and lifestyle.
What are the typical rules for Project 50?
Usually it's something like working out for an hour a day, reading 10 pages of a skill-building book, dedicating time to a new skill, and daily journaling.
That new skill part seems like where people would really customize.
It is. People quickly realize that trying to dedicate a full hour every day to something really hard like learning to code can lead to burnout, so they'll adjust it to 30 minutes, realizing that 30 focused minutes every day is way more sustainable.
Which brings us back to that point about making it practical for your own life.
It is the absolute difference between success and frustration. The generic challenge is just the framework. Success comes from making the rules trackable and practical for you. Instead of eat a healthy diet, a successful participant will make it measurable, like eat 2 servings of vegetables a day. It removes the guesswork and makes it so much easier to stick with.
So beyond these big lifestyle resets, we've got these thematic challenges that target specific areas of life. Let's start with financial discipline. Getting control of your money is such a direct way to reduce stress.
Oh, it's huge. Financial worries are consistently one of the biggest sources of chronic stress. So building financial discipline is really about implementing effective strategies for long-term security. The goal is simple, but it's profound. Just spend less than you make.
And these challenges force you to actually confront your spending habits, which is often the hardest part.
It's the emotional barrier, for sure. So a typical 30-day sprint would focus on a few foundational habits. First, and most critical, check your financial accounts daily.
That sounds simple, but it's psychologically really hard for a lot of people.
It's a form of exposure therapy against that financial anxiety. Daily checking keeps you informed and accountable. You can't ignore problems if you're looking at them every day.
And then what about the actual saving part?
The key behavioral change is to pay yourself first. You have to automate it. Set up an automatic deposit into your savings or investment account the day you get paid. Don't try to save what's left over at the end of the month.
Because there's never anything left over.
Human nature says you'll always find a way to spend it. So these challenges force that automation. And of course, prioritizing high-interest debt.
And for building up savings quickly, people often turn to specific challenges, like the 52-week challenge.
The 52-week challenge is a perfect example. It's a year-long sprint where you save an increasing amount each week. $1 in week 1, $2 in week 2, all the way up to $52 in the final week. By the end, you've saved $3,378.
But the real insight here, the thing that makes it actually work, is the modification, right?
Precisely. The critical takeaway is that most people fail near the end of the year when expenses are highest for the holidays, and you're supposed to be saving the largest amounts.
So you flip it.
You reverse the challenge, start with $52 in week 1, get the hardest part out of the way immediately. This front-loading makes it so much easier to complete.
What about for people who need to curb their spending, not just save a set amount?
For that, the no-spend month is perfect. You stop all spending on non-essential discretionary items for 30 days, just the necessities.
Rent, groceries, bills.
Right. And the key is you have to track the money you're not spending on coffee, eating out, impulse buys, and you transfer that amount directly into savings. It's a fantastic way to identify where your money is really going.
Then you have the super simple one, the Spare Change Roundup Challenge.
Which is so accessible. You use an app that automatically rounds up your purchases to the nearest dollar and sweeps that change into a savings account. You'd be amazed how quickly those little bits compound over time.
Okay, moving from the financial world, those habits free up a lot of mental energy, which leads us right into challenges for mental well-being and routine. What does the science say about simple, consistent practices for, just finding some inner peace?
Well, the consistency principle is everything here. Take journaling and gratitude. Journaling is this incredibly profound cognitive practice. You're externalizing all those swirling thoughts onto a page.
It's like a mental sorting mechanism.
That's a great way to put it. It reduces anxiety, gives you clarity, and helps you challenge your own negative self-talk. And it serves a historical purpose, too. You can look back and see how far you've come.
And the gratitude practice is the perfect antidote to anxiety.
It really is. Just writing down 1 to 5 specific things you're grateful for each day is strongly linked to greater happiness and lower stress. And it's not just, fluffy advice. It literally forces your brain to shift its focus from scarcity to abundance. It rewires you.
Let's talk morning routines. So many successful people swear by them. What are the key science-backed parts of an effective morning routine?
The science really focuses on regulating your internal clock, your circadian rhythm. First, hydration and caffeine timing. Drink water immediately when you wake up. But then, and this is key, delay your coffee for 60 to 90 minutes.
Why?
Because your body is already naturally producing cortisol to wake you up. If you drink caffeine right away, you can dull your sensitivity to your own hormones.
And what about light exposure? That seems to be the most consistent advice out there.
It's the single most important factor. Getting outside or just standing near a bright window for 10 to 15 minutes in the morning helps signal your brain to stop producing melatonin and start producing energy.
And then the inverse is true at night.
Exactly. Limiting bright screens before bed helps maintain that harmony so you can sleep better.
And sometimes it's the smallest habit that gives you the biggest psychological boost.
Yes. Like just making your bed. It provides that immediate, tangible first accomplishment of the day. It gives you this sense of order and control that feeds right back into that self-efficacy we talked about.
The first win.
The first win sets a positive tone for the whole day.
Okay, finally, let's look at learning and skill acquisition sprints. The sources all seem to emphasize consistency here above all else.
For general reading, the goal is just sustained, gentle momentum. Read one book a month or just dedicate 20 pages a day. It's so much better than trying to binge read on a weekend. And the key is active engagement.
Taking notes, summarizing things.
Right, not just letting the words wash over you. That's how you make sure the knowledge actually sticks and sparks new ideas.
And for learning a new hard skill, like a language or coding, how do you structure those sprints?
This is where that motto consistency beats strategy is just so powerful. You set aside a specific, non-negotiable block of time, maybe just 10 or 30 minutes a day, for focused practice. The daily output, no matter how small, is what maximizes your chance of success over time.
Like the writer who commits to 100 articles in 100 days.
Exactly. Even if 90 of them are mediocre, they've maximized the chance that a few will really connect with an audience and create success. It's about building systems of constant small work.
Okay, as we move from the digital and mental sprints, let's get physical. Let's talk about a challenge with a huge psychological payoff. The 30-day minimalism game.
The ultimate confrontation with clutter.
For sure. The sources lay out the exact escalating mechanics of this sprint.
And the design is just ingenious because it uses that time-bound principle against our natural hoarding tendencies. The rule is deceptively simple. For 30 days, you get rid of items corresponding to the day number.
Day 1, 1 item. Day 2, 2 items.
All the way up to day 30, where you have to get rid of 30 items in one day. By the end of the month, you will have purged a grand total of 465 items.
And the really crucial rule is that immediate friction. The items have to be physically gone, donated, sold, trashed by midnight. No to be donated pile in the corner.
That time pressure is what creates the psychological friction. It's easy at first, right? Anyone can find a broken pen. But by week 2, when you're trying to find more than a dozen items a day, the pressure is on. You're forced to make real decisions about things you've been putting off for years.
The maybe useful one-day pile.
It absolutely decimates the maybe useful one-day pile.
And does this connect back to the digital decluttering we talked about in terms of reducing cognitive load?
Oh, completely. The clutter in your physical space directly contributes to that brain fog. Every item in your house is a low-level decision, a piece of visual noise. When your drawers don't close easily, when your closet is overflowing, that's unfinished business for your brain.
So getting rid of 465 items is like freeing up RAM in your mind.
That's a perfect analogy. The physical friction of the game forces the same kind of intentionality that digital friction does with our fight apps.
This is where it gets really interesting for me, seeing the actual real-world clutter people find when they do this.
The examples are just so universally relatable. People find themselves tossing out ancient electronics and gadgets from that miscellaneous drawer. We're talking old installation CDs, charging cables for phones they haven't owned in a decade.
A promotional mouse pad from a 2009 work trip.
Exactly. One source mentioned a person who had held onto a single lost mitten for years, believing its mate would magically reappear.
That is dedication. And then there's the hidden health clutter, which is not just messy, it's kind of dangerous.
It really is. The game forces people to raid their medicine cabinets. And the sources say people find alarming amounts of expired medication. One person reported finding 20 boxes of expired meds and 7 expired COVID tests.
7? You just shove it in a drawer and forget it even exists.
And it contributes to this deep, hidden chaos. The game just illuminates all the areas of your house you've been silently neglecting.
And what about the hardest barrier? The sentimental traps. The things we keep just because of an association.
This is where the greatest psychological friction happens. People are holding onto things like the gift wrap from a memorable birthday, or, as one example noted, the branded shopping bag from a night out, even though the thing they bought is long gone.
So the challenge forces you to realize the memory isn't in the object.
Right. Your connection to that person or that memory is not dependent on a physical thing cluttering up your present. The suggestion is to replace it. Take a photo of the object to keep the memory, or display a piece of artwork from a friend instead of keeping an unused gift they gave you.
So after all that, when the dust settles and 465 items are gone, what's the real transformative result?
Beyond just having a neat house. Well, the immediate physical result is great drawers that slide, organized pantries, but the true value is that profound reduction in mental overwhelm. By regaining control over your immediate physical world, you reinforce that control over your attention and your choices. It solidifies that identity shift toward being an intentional, organized person who values clarity over just stuff. So, if we synthesize all of this, the overarching lessons from these intense sprints, Whether you choose something like 75 Hard or a softer approach like Project 50, the power really comes down to 3 simple, repeatable truths.
Okay.
1, setting clear, non-negotiable time limits that leverages psychological safety. 2, using a daily tracking system like a journal or a checklist to hold yourself accountable. And 3, prioritizing ruthless consistency.
Showing up every single day.
Every single day, over fleeting perfection. It's about being intentional with your time and energy and letting the structure of the challenge create order where life just felt like chaos.
And challenges are so essential for personal growth because growth only happens at the edge of your comfort zone. The 30 or 75 days, that's not the destination. It's just the catalyst for the habits that come after. Finding what works for you, whether that's eating 2 vegetables a day or reading 10 pages of a novel, and celebrating those small daily victories. That's the path to real, lasting change.
And we've seen it across all these sources. Those small daily actions, reading 10 pages, doing a 15-minute workout, getting rid of 1 piece of clutter, they compound exponentially. They add up to hundreds of hours and hundreds of changes over time. They fundamentally alter your trajectory.
So here's our final provocative thought for you to think about. It's inspired by that idea of no 0 days where any small achievement counts. We often avoid the things we know we should do because they feel too big or too unpleasant. What one small, productive thing could you commit to doing every single day for the next 30 days that you currently avoid?
Will you tackle that tiny nagging task today and claim that small victory? We wish you the best of luck in finding and conquering your next self-improvement sprint.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you next time.